Very funny lady. She works very hard in the scene. She's around every show doing something. She is hilarious. Please give it up for Miss Laura Dixon!
What's up, party people? You guys feeling good tonight? Yeah! Give yourselves a round of applause. We are very excited that you guys are here. We as comedians cannot do our art without an audience, so we are happy to have you here. Thank you so much. Give yourselves a round of applause one more time. I'm stoked, obviously, to be here. Like Keith said, my name is Laura Dixon. I'm a comedian, actress, podcaster, sometimes model, but mostly a disappointment to my mother.
True.
It's not her fault. She's just a very academic woman, right? She's a multi-instrumentalist, literal musical genius. So when her kid decided that being the class clown was a career choice, she had concerns. She mostly just wanted me to get some direction, right? Our parents all want us to get some direction in life. So first it was, why don't you go get a master's degree? And I had to remind her that I have a bachelor's in fashion, with a minor in film, emphasis in tokenettrifa. I cannot express to you how much you don't need a master's degree to sit around and sew and watch movies and get high. You just don't. And then she started on about, like, why aren't you a flight attendant? And then, why don't you go do literally anything else? And finally, one day she shows up at my door, because that's a hazard of living in your hometown. She knocks on my door. Hi, I brought you tomatoes from my garden. Why aren't you TikTok famous? So the bar for me in my life has gone from master's degree to TikTok famous. That's where we are. I'm now competing with 16-year-olds on the internet for my mother's approval. I do have to remind her periodically, though, that, like, I have a real job. Mom, I have a real adult job. I'm in charge of people. I'm in charge of money. Like, I go there during the day. I manage a party boat. It's taxing, it's tiring. People always think that's a joke when I say that, because that's like a weird thing. It's like, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, hi, I manage a party boat. Like, what? It sounds fake, but it's very real. There's some standard things that you see on every party boat. I have seen every pair of tits from here to next Tuesday. I have seen everybody shock on a White Claw. It doesn't work, by the way. We have plenty of video evidence. But there's some things that stick with you. I was at a private party, and a guy offered a girl a breath mint. He said, hey, do you want an Altoid? And she reaches for it, and she stops midair, and she looks at him, real suspicious, and she goes, is this an Altoid? Because the last time somebody offered me an Altoid, it was acid. I had a myriad of questions in that moment. First and foremost, I just went straight Breaking Bad, and I wanted to know, what is the acid delivery system on the Altoid? And then once I got through my entire Walter White fantasy, and all 10 seasons, I came to, and the thing about it was, she became very cavalier, okay? I have never once been cavalier about somebody giving me hallucinogens, and I've done a lot of drugs. I've never accidentally taken acid and then been in the Harris Teeter and been like, this dragon's looking real right now. I'm sure it's fine, everything's fine. She said this almost like June Cleaver, like this happens to her every other Tuesday. She was suspicious, but it wasn't like, is this acid? Because the last time somebody gave me an Altoid, it was acid. It was, is this acid? Because the last time somebody gave me an Altoid, it was acid. Oh, you boys and your tricks. Not gonna get me this time. Now go wash up for supper. I've made a pot roast and a gelatin salad. That's what it felt like. And this man looks at her, and everyone around her is concerned at this point. He says, ma'am, this is an Altoid, I can assure you. Your breath just smells like a farm. Yeah. It was a rough day on the water that day. It got real awkward. But despite all of the party boating and whatnot, I'm actually not that big of a drinker. I used to be in my younger years, but not anymore. I had to tone it down. Part of that is because I have something called borderline personality disorder. Raise your hand if you know what that is. My brother and like 2 other people. Borderline personality disorder is a psychological disorder that affects emotional stability. And it affects approximately 1% of the population, 75% of whom are women, and 100% of the people that I triple text. I got diagnosed when I was 19, which is actually fairly early to be diagnosed. And when I found out, I needed like a sense of community. There wasn't much in the mental health space that we were talking about, and I couldn't talk to my sorority sisters about it. So I had to find a way to feel less alone in the world. So I started looking up celebrities who have borderline, right? And first I found out that Britney Spears has borderline personality disorder. You find out that somebody like Britney Spears has borderline, you're like, yes, it's Britney, bitch! And then you find out that somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer has borderline. And you're like, it's Dahmer, bitch! I am a huge true crime fan. I have studied so much of your work. This person's like laughing very uncomfortably over here. Are you okay? I promise it's a joke. When I do drink, I tend to get a little out of control. And I start speaking Spanish. That's my big warning sign, unfortunately. The Spanish mostly only translates to Daddy Yankee. So if you're, "Usta la gasolina, dame my gasolina, take me home." And guys, that's my time for this evening. My name is Laura Dixon. Thank you guys so much.
One more time for Laura Dixon.